Tonight, a closer look at the city of Detroit and the next steps, what the governor has planned, plus the challenge of starting business in the city and tackling blight in the neighborhoods. MiWeek starts right now.
Recently, Michigan's economy has begun to turn around. Michigan's gained over 250,000 new jobs. We've paid off $20 billion in long-term debt. And our population is increasing for the first time in a decade. But to make Michigan a top 10 state, there's still plenty of work to be done. Step up and help put Michigan on top. Learn what you can do at MichiganTurnaroundPlan.com.
Funding is also provided by Delta.
Welcome to MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Christy McDonald. Tonight, we're focused on Detroit. The state's largest city has been given the green light to exit bankruptcy, and now the work of efficiently running the city and revitalizing the neighborhoods is moving forward. Coming up, we'll hear from Governor Snyder about his plans and hopes for the future of the city. Plus, we'll explore a unique partnership to encourage the growth of businesses from the city's creative community and a look at the city's fight against blight in the neighborhoods. Plus, our contributors Nolan Finley and Stephen Henderson list off the biggest challenges that are ahead of Detroit. But we do start with Governor Snyder. He sat down with us the day after he won re-election and talked about the state's future role in Detroit's success.
I believe the city of Detroit is important for the future of the entire state, and I'm committed to being invested in bringing back the city. And I appreciate some of the citizens of Detroit recognizing that. And it's not just Midtown and downtown, it's about the neighborhoods.
Right.
And that's where there's still a great deal of work to be done. And I'm excited about the future there. I'm excited to see Kevin Orr transition out and the mayor and city council come in and play the traditional role that they would in the community. And I'm happy to be that supportive partner.
And that process could begin on Friday when the judge rules on the bankruptcy plan. So as you exit from the bankruptcy and look ahead out over the next 4 years of your term and beyond, what's the ongoing relationship and responsibility of the state to Detroit?
As we would with any other community, is to be a supportive partner. And again, that's where I really appreciate and encourage innovation in communities. Because quite often, if you look at many things we've done, I like to pilot things, try new ideas, ask new questions, and I really look for communities to want to be proactive to do that. It's entrepreneurship and innovation in the public sector. So that's where I believe I've got a good relationship with the mayor, that hopefully he'll be proactive coming forward ideas. I'll be happy to present ideas, and if we can find those engagement points, and I'm sure we will, we'll do things. Community Ventures is a great illustration about helping the structurally unemployed in Detroit. We've been partnering with Focus Hope on that for some time. This whole career tech education thing, which is my top priority, there's a huge opportunity because career tech ed in Detroit schools or Detroit educational institutions, whether it's community colleges or schools, can be ramped up dramatically.
Let me ask you on a personal level, if we had asked you the day that you said that an emergency manager was going to be appointed for the city of Detroit, if you knew then that the city could possibly be exiting from bankruptcy this Friday, would you have envisioned this kind of timeline and this kind of speed?
Well, I couldn't speak to it when the EM was appointed, but when I actually authorized bankruptcy, that's the date, because again, that was a last resort. I hope to have avoided bankruptcy, but when we got to that point, we actually had a timeline to say it could be 18 months. I mean, that's why I asked from Kevin to give me a timeline to get it done. To be open with you, most people probably didn't think that was a credible timeline. I had confidence in Kevin, and I had confidence that we were going to work hard on doing it. So some of us actually believed it was doable, and we're off by a couple months. What I would say, though, is not because of us. What I had confidence in is I hope Michiganders would rally to come address this. And this is the great part of the whole bankruptcy situation, which people have made sacrifices, retirees, but people came to the table that you hadn't seen in the past, come to the table, the foundation community, that's unprecedented, the judges as mediators, the judge, the city, all the parties rallied together, the DIA donors, the retirees. I got to give them a huge shout out. They took cuts and they supported this. People rallied to say, let's get this done, and it worked. It's working.
And part of Detroit's recovery will depend on business growth in the city, and not just traditional big business. One group is helping nurture entrepreneurs from the creative class. Nolan Finley and I recently spoke with Matt Clayson. He's the CEO of the Detroit Creative Corridor Center.
DC3 is kind of unique in that it's a partnership between the academic community, the College for Creative Studies, and the business community, business leaders from Michigan, who have come together to really lead a strategy that's focused on growing the region's design and creative industries, and focused on clustering a lot of those industries in the greater downtown area.
Why does this region, this market, make sense for that kind of industry?
I mean, just going to raw numbers, Southeast Michigan is home to the highest concentration and quantity of industrial designers in the country, almost 6 times more than any peer region. And that's not even a push poll we commissioned, that's just raw Bureau of Labor statistics. So you have the design assets here in terms of talent. You have institutions like College for Creative Studies, Cranbrook, University of Michigan, Wayne State, Michigan State University, pumping out hundreds of qualified designers and creative practitioners every year who want to stay in Southeast Michigan but might not have the opportunity to do so. And then you have these rich cultural assets. Detroit Institute of Arts, Charles H. Wright, Historical Museum Societies, symphony, opera, cultural assets that very few Midwestern cities of this size have. So all the ingredients are here. It's just how do you weave that together in a way that really grows the economy and that grows our urban core.
All right, so answer that question. How do you do that, and what kind of businesses are you seeing now coming out of this?
So we do it kind of twofold. We focus on small and medium enterprises through business acceleration activities. We have a business accelerator embedded in the College for Creative Studies, where we work with between 6 and 10 firms every year, help them get connected to new clients, help them get connected to managerial talent, help them grow their revenues. They move out, they begin to populate some of the spaces in between these little hubs of creative activity we have in the downtown area. And then we work with more established businesses, everyone from Skidmore Studio to Low Campbell Ewald to Shinola to Commonwealth, to help them create a business case for moving their operations downtown Detroit. Obviously, costs are higher when you're in an urban area. What can outweigh those costs? How can we add value to that? What do the connections to the talent channels look like? What do connections to new client opportunities look like? New client channels look like? How does having an address like Detroit help you stand out from your competition and help you go national versus just regional?
Has the troubles Detroit's been through, the struggles, and sort of the success stories it's posted, how has that changed the climate for startups or the interest in this climate?
I think we got it all out there. I mean, there's no surprises anymore as to, let's say, the depth of Detroit's financial distress.
But you got a lot of people rooting for us now, right?
You got a lot of people rooting, and business likes predictability too. And so now that you have the baseline, you have a financial plan for the future, you have a strategic plan for the future, business can begin to mitigate risk around that. And whether you're a startup company or an advanced company, you need that to figure out how you're going to grow, how are you going to get new clients. And so just that level of transparency, I found has been very helpful from a business growth, business retention, business attraction perspective.
So what are some of the pitfalls? I guess you would probably see that more entrepreneurs are coming out saying, oh, I can make something work in the city of Detroit, but you said the atmosphere is still difficult in an urban area to make it successful. What are some of the things that you would say to entrepreneurs that are out there who are looking to start business in Detroit?
Get connected. The more connections you have, the more client opportunities you have. But they need to be relevant connections. We still, Detroit has so many real challenges, it's really easy to get distracted from your core mission. Okay, I'm going to focus on addressing problem X with my business, and then there's problem Y over there, which is sexy new, and I'll go do that, and then you lose your core competency. So all of the businesses we work with, we're like, you have to be laser focused on mission, laser focused towards attracting that ideal client, and then replicating that, replicate. Don't get distracted with, issue X or issue Y.
Fighting blight in Detroit's neighborhoods is one of the biggest projects the city is undertaking. Recently, I had the opportunity to look at the steps the city is taking to tear down blighted buildings and how those living in the neighborhoods feel about the changes. A demolition crew at work in northwest Detroit. This one crew will knock down up to 10 houses in a day. Ronald Garrison lives next door to this one, vacant for years. Trespassers looted it of anything of value.
The man down the street boarded it up, and they used to come rip the boards off and still go back in there, and he'd have to come board it up again.
The numbers are in. There are nearly 80,000 dilapidated structures across the city of Detroit. A number so high because of scrappers, vandals tearing everything of value out of vacant properties, leaving them open to the elements. Once there's structural damage, the houses have to come down.
Oh, yeah.
The scrapping is so rampant, Derek Watts says even inhabited homes can be targets.
You have to watch your house even if you go on vacation. You can go on vacation and come back and your house be scrapped. So you got to watch it really 24 hours a day, you know, because that's the thing now. That's the hustle now.
With the city bankrupt and operating under an emergency manager, Detroit's new mayor, Michael Duggan, is focusing on the demolition of the tens of thousands of houses stripped beyond repair.
And what kind of speed are we seeing, and what are the numbers that we're seeing?
Well, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, the city has historically knocked down maybe 50 houses a week. We're now knocking down 200 to 250 every single week.
Before Duggan, the city's demolition plan had been slowed by bureaucracy. Duggan took office in January. He says his new team has been able to streamline the demolition program. Now residents like Kai Belcher are seeing action.
I came home one day, you know, these two houses was down first. Then my mother and them said they were coming back for the other ones because they had the paper up. So I was, you know, sure that they was going to come back and take care of the rest of them. So it's pretty good.
Last year, the Obama administration and Michigan Governor Rick Snyder helped create the Detroit Blight Task Force. The task force brought together government, foundations, and private groups, some for the first time. Glenda Price co-chaired the task force. She says when everyone started working together, things started to happen.
That you did not see impact because there was no concentrated strategy to go neighborhood by neighborhood where you could actually see a difference.
And you finally have it.
And we finally have it. You can't do one house on the east side, one house in Brightmoor, one house someplace else, and feel as though you've made a difference. You do 3 houses on one block, and by golly, you have made a difference.
So you have a staggering number of blighted properties. I can only understand that there would be a staggering price tag to go with it, to remove them.
Approximately $1 billion.
The city has some of that money in the bank, but it's nowhere near enough to remove all the blight, which is estimated to take 5 years. Where does the money come from a city that's going through a bankruptcy process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And so the first $50 million came from the federal government in TARP funds. And I got an application in now for another $50 million. And I think if the federal government continues to see the progress we're making, they'll be supportive.
In the fight against blight, technology is key.
Now click Blessed Property.
Citizens are using a smartphone app that tracks changes in their neighborhoods for better or worse. It's called Blexting, short for blight texting. This is the crowdsourcing of information and comes courtesy of a couple of young Detroit entrepreneurs. Sandra Yu does community outreach for the program.
Loveland Technologies is a tech startup in Detroit, and they just geeks about property and wanting property to be used for the highest and best use.
Norma Heath is president of the West Euclid Block Club in the Midtown area of the city.
But this is a way that you know how to see who owned the property. You see everything that you need to know.
We want Blexing to be part of what it means to be a citizen. You mow your lawn, you take out the trash, you Blex properties in your neighborhood.
And I hover over here. Monique Tate of the nonprofit group Data Driven Detroit hosts some of the Blexting boot camps, training residents across the city.
So having this kind of information available leads to exactly what we want, data-driven decisions. So community groups can decide where are we going to focus our efforts and our attention, because they can easily pull up on the public dashboard a map of their specific neighborhood to see where are the vacancies.
What we recommended and what they are attempting to do is look at what we're defining as tipping point neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods where a little investment will stop the decline.
This is the Marygrove neighborhood, one of the Detroit neighborhoods that's at the tipping point. There's lots of streets just like this one, where you've got homes that are well taken care of, but sandwiched in between others that are vacant and run down. The city is now aggressively targeting homeowners, either clean up your property or lose it. And they're also offering incentives for people to buy homes like this one, to move in and to stay here. The backbone of the community is Marygrove College, here since before the Great Depression. The college is still going strong, but the 2008 recession has done its damage to the housing stock. Gloria Mitchell moved to Marygrove in 1978. When people talk about Detroit Blight and some of the neighborhoods that are up and down, how would you describe how your neighborhood and your street fits into that?
It fits right in the middle. We have quite a mix here now, where it went from working class, it's now retirees, former working people, it's families, new, old. It's everything here.
This Marygrove home is about to be seized by the Detroit Land Bank Authority. The land bank has been in operation for years with little notice. Now, the mayor has hired more staff, including attorneys, computer techs, and a communications director. Craig Foley left Detroit Public Radio to join the team.
Well, the Detroit Land Bank Authority, it's pretty simple, really. We are a place that is a clearinghouse for vacant property in the city of Detroit. Our goal is to either sell it to somebody that wants to live in it, auction it off to get somebody to live in it, and if we don't have any other options, we will demolish the property.
The properties to be auctioned are shown on the Land Bank website.
48201.
For city government, getting all this online is a new frontier.
We like to say that we sort of are building the car at the same time we're building the assembly line. So we really have to adapt and learn from each other and find new strategies, frankly, to get people back into the neighborhoods.
The Land Bank has started a pilot project called the Forgivable Grants program. In Marygrove, suburban-based Talmer Bank is putting up seed money for home buyers, money it does not expect to be repaid. Patrick Irvin runs the bank's grant program.
We decided the best thing that we can do to participate is money. And so we stepped forward and we're going to give $1 million of our money in these grants that are forgivable grants for people who want to live in this neighborhood with their families and be here for a long period of time.
Here, auction winners can receive up to $25,000 to fix up their homes if they promise to live in them for 5 years.
Oh, wow, first try.
In Marygrove, Jay Meeks takes possession of the house he won for just over $8,000.
It's structurally solid on the outside. It's a decent size. I like it.
Meeks is 29, an upwardly mobile PhD student who grew up nearby. He lived on the East Coast, but recently returned home.
So this isn't Midtown, this isn't downtown, but this is Northwest Detroit. We are up here, and I'm excited about the opportunity for great things to come and my ability to contribute to them. So,
if the Marygrove pilot project works, other parts of Detroit might get financial incentives like this one. That is, if the city can recruit more charitable lenders to bring more people back into the neighborhoods. There is a lot of hope that the future of the city can be brighter, but where does the focus need to be to make that happen? Let's get to our MiWeek contributors. Nolan Finley, the editorial page editor of the Detroit News, and Stephen Henderson, the editorial page editor of the Detroit Free Press. Gentlemen, it's good to see you. So when we launch into the conversation about where does Detroit now need to go, we talk about bankruptcy giving the city a clean slate, but it feels that there are so many things that now need to be navigated and pitfalls, Nolan.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. I mean, the challenges still remain. the collapsing neighborhoods. They have to be stabilized. We still have to figure out an answer for all that abandoned space in the city. Services have to be improved. But mostly, I would say, going out from here, that the major challenge is staying focused on fiscal discipline, good government, making everyday progress in fixing all the many things that are still wrong in the city. And that's not a year job. It's not the job of one administration. That's going to come out 20, 30 years. We got to do things right for 20, 30 years to get Detroit where it needs to be.
But does it start with one administration, Stephen? Does it start with the leadership that's now at the city?
Oh, I think it does. I think this is the first real test of Mike Duggan and the way he wants to manage government and the way he wants to sort of shape the progress in the city. I mean, I think that there are a couple things he's got to do right away. One, there are a lot of people in the city who haven't felt anything change since the bankruptcy or before. These are people living in neighborhoods that are isolated and economically struggling, and they haven't had any benefit from what's going on. I think you have to get into those neighborhoods quickly and start to make a difference. Public safety, lighting, you got to deal with education in these places, economic opportunity. The mayor's really got to push this stuff out to the places where you have 300, 400,000 Detroiters living in these areas who have not felt like things are getting better. That's his first real test.
And the latest crime stats are just absolutely devastating. And if he had to pick just one thing to fix first, he's got to just swarm that crime problem, because people get broken into, they get mugged, their car gets stolen out of their driveway, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're not going to give them any more time to get it right.
The thing that people are not thinking about in terms of crime, one of the things that happened in the bankruptcy was that we reshaped the way that the city pays police officers. So they already had really low pay. Now they don't have a great pension. So the incentive to go be a Detroit police officer where you're doing dangerous duty every shift, every day, is almost gone. We need a lot more officers. Where are you going to get the money to plow back into salaries, to plow maybe into some sort of retirement plans, some incentive to go do that job? If you don't do that, crime is not going to go down.
A big piece of that $140 million that was freed up by the bankruptcy ought to go right there, because it's the first thing. When you talk about people noticing, they will notice safer neighborhoods.
Okay, so you're talking about the neighborhoods, you're talking about the amount of police that you have on the street. But again, I think it gets back to that age-old question that we have such a large footprint, the city of Detroit, and we have neighborhoods that are decimated, where you have one or two viable homes on a block and that you don't have anything else in between there. So what the administration has tried to do is start to get at those neighborhoods that are at the tipping point and save some. But can you save all of the various neighborhoods, or the ones where you say that people have not been affected so far by the bankruptcy process, haven't seen those lights turn back on?
I don't think you have a choice. I mean, there's a difference between saying you're going to move those neighborhoods back to the density and level of service that they might have had 20 or 30 years ago, and saying we aren't going to let the people there just suffer. We're not going to let them not have streetlights or not have police presence. You've got to cover the city. You've got to cover basic services for everybody, and that's been the city's struggle because we were paying so much money into debt and long-term liabilities. Now that we're not doing that, the focus has to be on, if you're going to live here, you got to feel safe. You got to have the garbage picked up. You got to have, if your house catches on fire, we're not going to let it burn to the ground. These are basic expectations that I think the mayor's got to start meeting for everybody.
I still think you've got to execute a plan to try and consolidate neighborhoods. If you have blocks with one person on it, or whole neighborhoods with, a very few residents, I think you have to start providing incentives to get people to move into denser neighborhoods, so you can shut off areas from the need to provide police, fire, what have you. Otherwise, you just spread way too thin. I don't see how you can afford to do it.
Last question for both of you. What can we expect to see, or what should we expect to see out of the city of Detroit in the next 6 months? I'm going to start with you, Stephen.
I mean, I think we will get a sort of plan, and a plan of attack from the mayor, right? He'll say, here's what I plan to do, here's where I plan to do it, here's the strategy I'm employing. to start focusing on the neighborhoods. And if you talk to him right now, that's what he's talking about, is the neighborhoods. We have got to get out there, deal with blight, deal with economic opportunity, deal with public safety. I think 6 months is a small window to start asking for changes, but I think to see what he's going to do and have a plan, it makes sense.
Last 20 seconds.
Yeah, he's got to show some motion. I would agree. He's got to put a structure in place, but he's got to give the people a sense that things are moving, because they're still losing population, and this is a city that can't afford to lose any more people. It's at 6 something now, 675, 680. It goes down much lower than that, and the problems just explode.
All right. Well, we will continue to watch, and that'll do it for MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, you can always find us at MiWeek.org to watch any shows you might have missed, and make sure you join the conversation throughout the week. We are on Facebook and Twitter at MiWeek. For all of us at Detroit Public TV, I'm Christy McDonald. We'll see you next week.
Recently, Michigan's economy has begun to turn around. Michigan's gained over 250,000 new jobs. We've paid off $20 billion in long-term debt. And our population is increasing for the first time in a decade. But to make Michigan a top 10 state, there's still plenty of work to be done. Step up and help put Michigan on top. Learn what you can do at MichiganTurnaroundPlan.com.
Funding is also provided by Delta,